I'm a bad motherfucker.
All right, back to Russ.
Okay, so to take a serious turn here, let's see what's happening on World War III watch. I am Russell Dobular, filling in for the man, the legend, Mr. James Dore, on tour in Europe. Israel warns of consequences to any attack from Iran. Israel told the U.S. if Iran launches an attack, I keep meaning to do it right, Iran. Israel told the U.S. if Iran launches an attack from its soil against Israel in retaliation for its deadly strike in Syria earlier this week, it would draw a strong response from Israel and take the current conflict to another level. Like a relationship, only genocidal. An Israeli strike on Damascus earlier this week killed Brigadier General Mohammad Reza Zahedi, a top Iranian Quds Force general in charge of Iran's military operations in Lebanon and Syria. He was killed along with 6 other Iranian officers in an Israeli strike on a building adjacent to the Iranian embassy in Damascus on Monday. Why it matters. Iranian officials have publicly threatened to retaliate against Israel for the attack that killed a top Iranian official. The Biden administration and the Israeli government are highly concerned Iran is preparing for an imminent attack, U.S. and Israeli officials said. Iranian proxies in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Gaza have attacked Israel, but there hasn't been an attack from Iranian soil. A direct Iranian strike on Israel would be unprecedented and could lead to a regional war in the Middle East. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said at the top of an Israeli Security Cabinet meeting on Thursday that Iran has been operating against Israel for years, quote, both directly and via its proxies, and therefore Israel is operating against Iran and its proxies, both defensively and offensively. Quote, we will know how to defend ourselves and will operate according to the basic principle of whoever is harming or planning to harm us, we will harm him, he said according to a statement from his office. In their call on Thursday, President Biden and Netanyahu discussed public Iranian threats against Israel. Quote, President Biden, excuse me, sometimes with these mic things, like fuzz will get in your throat. President Biden made clear that the United States strongly supports Israel in the face of those threats, the White House said. Israeli officials claim they have intelligence that shows Iran could attack Israel from its soil using long-range ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, or drones. Israeli defense forces are on high alert, especially air defense and intelligence units, officials said. The Israeli military canceled all weekend vacations for its combat soldiers. Now, why should you worry about this other than the obvious? Well, you're not dealing with an honest actor in Israel or, frankly, in the United States. But particularly in the case of Israel, very much like Ukraine, if you remember, an errant missile fell within Polish territory and Zelensky wasted no time and with no evidence tried to gin up the narrative that Russia had attacked Poland in order to draw us in. That is very much what could potentially happen here with Israel, but don't take my word for it. Retired Colonel Douglas McGregor went on Judge Andrew Napolitano's show and explained what the dangers are.
Mr. Netanyahu must escalate to survive. And he believes that escalating the war is ultimately Israel's salvation. How do you escalate the war? You goad Iran into attacking you. And this is a direct provocation designed to precipitate a major response from Iran. So it's a foregone conclusion that if Mr. Netanyahu is successful and we are dragged into this, we will end up fighting with the Russians directly. most of your political class is bought and paid for by the Israeli lobby. Hatred has taken over. Emotion has taken over. There is no rational calculus unless you want to judge plans for the annihilation of Arabs in Gaza, in the West Bank, and potentially southern Lebanon as a rational calculus. I don't think you're going to see a deliberate counterstrike from Iranian soil because, again, the Iranians don't want a war. This is a thing that has to be understood. Nobody in the region except the Israelis and the United States are enthusiastic about the war.
Okay. Keaton?
Well, the other parallel to Ukraine in all of this is that support here in the U.S. For Ukraine has dwindled, just as support for Israel has. Yet you would not know that if you paid attention to stories like this, where as you know, Russia-Ukraine becomes more and more dangerous, we double down more and more to the point where, I mean, there haven't been many headlines out of that war this week, but we are not going to give that up without a fight. And at this point, without a fight means goading Putin into a nuclear confrontation. And on this front, it seems like as support for Israel has just completely bottomed out to the point where now it's at less than 40%. You see Biden not only saying we will continue to support their operations in Gaza, but now we're going to back them in a potential global conflict. That just doesn't track with the way people are feeling here. And this is why I say, like, this is suicidal, psychotic, death cult behavior, because it is acting with complete disregard for any popular will here. And so who is going to fight these wars? Like, are we going to be able to field an army? Really? I mean, nobody wants any of this. Nobody wants any of this. There's no morale. There is no energy. There is no ethos that is worth fighting for here. To the point where this is just it is a suicidal streak in these people that leads them to feel like they can just push this as far as they want, regardless of the reality on the ground.
Frankly, we're on the other side of the wall here, but I think this is okay to say. I think they would be very happy to get rid of some of us in a war. Now, the question is whether you still have a habitable planet at the end of that war. But hey, the AI's coming, and they don't really need as many of us anymore. And I am increasingly convinced that our global elites are thinking that way. Like, how many of these people do we really need? Once the AI comes, once you really get some good robotics going, what is that? 95% of the population of the Earth works a profession that will no longer be required. So I wonder if that is part of their willingness to engage in this kind of brinksmanship. Clearly in this country, what is the military reaching 80% of its targets when they try to recruit? Now, you've talked a lot about that from the side of morale, and I agree with you. It's also health. I mean, the majority of the country is obese. The majority of people under 18 are obese. I think it's 2/3.
Yeah, but if they had the morale, like if they wanted to go fight and we needed people to fight, like we would put fat people on the front line. Like I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, like, that doesn't strike me as an obstacle to being able to field a team. If the military wants to field the team, I don't think they can field the team because I think they would have to draft people. They'd have to drag people off the streets like they're doing in Ukraine.
Exactly.
And that's just going to create more political chaos. But I think you're right. I think that what sort of emboldens them to make these wildly unpopular decisions about war and peace on a global scale is that they're not really invested in the future of the human race,
Right.
to be honest.
Right.
You know, whether there's a nefarious plot to kill everybody, that's a different, like, we can't prove that or not prove that, but they're certainly not invested in our future. Like, they certainly don't seem to mind a depopulation event.
I think when you've got our elite classes doing everything they can to convince people that you can be morbidly obese without it causing any health problems, and that the idea that some food is unhealthy is some kind of food phobia, and you're trying to tell people that every kid who ever puts on his mom's heels needs to be on hormone treatments, every boy. Yeah, I think they're trying to get rid of us, because I can't believe that people with any kind of education actually believe these things. So I have to ask, why are they telling the public that these things are true? Well, the only motive I could see is you're trying to kill people. You're trying to get rid of people. You want to sterilize people. You want there to be less people because you see a future where you don't need workers anymore, and you want to maintain your lifestyle, and you don't want to have to share it with anybody. You know, you want a future Earth with less people where you get to live in this materially opulent paradise. You know, just, 5% of you left and everybody else gone. And I think if that's how you're looking at things, you're going to be very cavalier, because it's not going to be your kids fighting. They're not going out on the front lines. That aristocratic ideal of the right to be of an elevated class being tied to military service, that's long gone. George H.W. Bush, I think that was like the last generation World War II that had that idea that it would be a shame on a prominent family not to serve in a time of war. That's long gone. It's not going to be them and their kids that are going to be dying in those wars.
Well, because it's a whole different world, not just in the moment, but down the road, and they see that. And I think there are forces bigger than all of this that are not even necessarily human forces. I think there are natural forces behind a lot of it, that just creates a different imperative for the future of life on Earth for us humans. And I think that is part of why they feel they can push this as far as they have.
That segment got a lot deeper than I was expecting. So for those of you who are baked, don't worry. You're living in a whole loving universe. Put on the lava lamp and some Allman Brothers. It's all going to be okay. Misha, to you.
They found a rabbi hole and on. There's Jews in the walls. Isn't it bliss? The rabbinical grace soiling the mattresses. Well, let me tell you. If I were Rabbi Shmuley and diddle 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 digga digga diddle diddle dum, all day long I'd diddle little bums. If I were a Shmuley man, I'd peddle all my dildos, dreidel dildos, selling dildos with my daughter and her mum. If I were a Jewish Shmuley man, I'd be digging with a dildo in my bum. I'd wear a grotesque nose and go grab some goyim right on the nipple with a pinch. A Shabbos lap dance brace for the youngest mensch.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate shitty coffee? I, for one, really hate shitty coffee, which is why I'm excited to introduce to you a company that's revolting against shitty coffee, and it's called the 1775 Coffee Company. Now, I haven't had it yet because I only drink decaf. Steph has had it. Steph, how do you like it?
I really like it. I've been, you know what? I have a French press, and so I've been using my French press and totally enjoying it. It's delicious. It's smooth. It's smooth.
So 1775, the world awake. In 1775, the world awakened to a new era. And now it's 1775 Coffee Company is bringing you a coffee that embodies that revolutionary spirit. Crafted with passion and precision, our beans are ethically and exclusively sourced from the finest coffee beans farms of Bolivia. Didn't know that. 1775 Coffee Company's farm-to-cup journey ensures the highest quality of authenticity and sustainability from start to finish. With each sip, your palate will recognize and appreciate the dedication and passion that goes into crafting this single-sourced brew. 1775 Coffee Company takes pride in offering customers a truly exceptional coffee experience with their premium coffee collection. But their dedication to this revolution extends beyond the realm of taste. Safeguarding freedom of speech is critical right now, which is why 1775 Coffee Company has joined forces with Rumble in defense of one of our most fundamental rights, freedom of speech. Coffee that's sure to awaken all your senses, including the sense of freedom. So choose 1775 Coffee by going to 1775coffee.com/litter. That's LITTER, and use the code LITTER for 10% off the checkout on your first order. 1775 Coffee, brewed to perfection, crafted with revolution.
Hey, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there for more AM Joy and the rest of MSNBC. And click on any of the videos right here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. And you can get more videos from MSNBC for free every day with our newsletter. Just visit